Hello and welcome to the People's Lawyer channel. Today is part one of a live in-person talk that we did entitled Disclosure 2022, the update, based on the 2021 version, and it comes in 8 parts. This part is part one, which is a wake-up call. So we're going to start with a wake-up call where I ask questions designed to get you to rethink certain things and question everything. Some of the questions we're going to answer today, some of them we won't, and we'll leave them hanging in midair. Some of them will leave as rhetorical. We'll then look at dark word magic, how the English language has been twisted against us, because whoever controls the use of language controls the mind. We'll then go into the great health scam, one of my favourite topics, and undo what has been done to us, undo a business model which is now a genocidal model, as some of us, maybe all of us know, and make sure that we turn that around as well. And that will surprise even the hardcore free thinkers. Some of the information that I've got will surprise even the most fervent researchers. Then we'll look at Matthias Desmet's mass hypnosis and see how 5 billion people were coerced into following what was only a suggestion, but that suggestion, like when you are hypnotized, becomes more like a command, doesn't it? And then part 5 will be dark legal deceptions, how the legal system has been twisted and turned against us. That's basically essentially the problem. First 5 parts of the problem. When you know what the problem is, that's when you can start to do something about it. When you know on a deep level, when you add light onto it, that's what light does to dark. Dark is not quite knowing what's going on. Light's, I do know what's going on. So as soon as you throw light on something, it's no longer dark. And when it's no longer dark, it doesn't have any power whatsoever. The dark forces rely on our ignorance and fear. Those are the 2 main things that they rely on. In the second half, we'll go into the more positive side of things and we'll look at lawful remedy, what we can do at law to turn things around. And then generally we'll go into antidotes to evil, all the things that we can do within ourselves and in our lifestyles and in our lifestyle choices that can help turn things around. Because at the end of the day, if you're struggling with your health, even though you know what's going on, if your life is still not making sense to you, then let's have a look at how it can become more coherent and make more sense and make you stronger. Because those of us who will get through this tunnel of death, we will need to be strong and fit, and certainly strong and fit mentally. And of course physically as well, but certainly strong and fit mentally. And then we'll look at the future, what the future holds, how we can co-create it. 2 futures, one for them, one for us. And I know there's a lot of people saying, oh, that's divine, that's their game, they divine. No, there's no getting around this. There will be 2 futures. So we will be looking at which future we prefer, because not everybody is destined for the same future. Right, away we go. My children are destroyed for lack of knowledge. Well, I'm not a Bible basher, but I do like to quote, more and more like to quote the Bible, because there's lots of clues, the revelation and everything is in there. Hosea chapter 4 verse 6. And this is exactly what's going on. 5 billion people have taken the jab because they've no idea what's happening. They haven't got a clue. No knowledge. So they're given a suggestion and they take it. 20 million apparently have already died across the globe. 2 billion with a B are injured by the jab. 2 billion. So that's nearly half. And it's only going to get worse. It ain't what you don't know that gets you into trouble, it's what you know for sure that just ain't so. And those 5 billion people will swear down that they know something that you don't. And you're nuts, you're insane for trying to tell them that they're not quite doing it the right way. That was Mark Twain. Right, let's move on with part 1, which is all about, well, you'll see the screen quite a lot actually, because it's all fraud, it's all deceit, lies, deception, crime, hoaxes, scams, falsehoods, hustles, cheats, it's all, that's what the system is. That's what the dark force is. I'm not going to be too specific about what I mean by dark force or dark force is. We've all got our own ideas. But what we can agree on is that they rely on cheating, stealing, cheating, coercing. They have no power and no knowledge. Well, actually some of them do have knowledge. They're the ones that pull the strings for the minions that are in our face. But what we need to do to unravel everything and find the antidote is use knowledge. And then knowledge, when applied correctly, in good timing, wisely, becomes wisdom. The wise use of knowledge. So knowledge is what, and wisdom is how and when. This is the next level we'll be going to, 2023 and beyond, because people that do what I do have been pouring out the what for a few years now, and now it's the when and the how. So here are some questions that are designed to tease you into becoming even more awake than you were before you walked in. Question 1, what do you know about complex post-traumatic stress disorder? The answer is whatever you think you know, you've got it, and the reason you've got it is because you went to school. So anyone who's been to school will be walking around with complex post-traumatic stress disorder. No exceptions. So complex post-traumatic stress disorder. So if you want to know more about that and how to detox from it, then just wait for the real live in-person, it's called Evils of Modern Schooling. Just a quick word to say that we've changed the title of the live in-person workshop that we'll be doing from November 2022 onwards. We've changed it from The Evils of Modern Schooling to a more generic title, which is From Nightmare to Dream, to cover not just the traumatizing and dehumanizing effect it has on boys and girls, but on the harm that it causes grown-ups and how we can turn that around. Part of the healing is knowing that it's been done to you. Just to give you a clue, if you're aware of certain limitations in your life, but you're not quite fully aware of where they came from, well, 90% of them came from your schooling. And it's a deliberate agenda. More about that in my book. Oh, here, our first shameless plug. School, No Place for Children, authored by yours truly. There you go, available on Amazon, sorry about that, but also from my website. And I'll flag that up later as well. So for those of you who don't like Amazon and who does, you can get it from me directly. Question 2, do you live in a home built by a bank? Anyone live in a home built by a bank? No one. I've asked that question to thousands of people. No one said yes yet. Well, one woman said yes, but I think she misheard me. So that's who we should be paying. We should be paying for the bricks, the mortar, the plaster, the woodwork, and the skill and the time, and that's it. Doesn't involve a bank. But the banks have got the monetary system, and they create false scenarios in which we feel as though the bank have given us something and we have to pay it back. But that's not what's actually happening. And we'll have a very brief look about that again later. So there's the first major scam, well, two scams really, the schooling scam and the banking scam, at least looked at very briefly. So if you're paying off a mortgage, then you are paying off something that never existed, basically. If you want to know more about these things, if it's education, wait for the other talk. If it's about banking and law, then I have a privacy course and there's videos online already free that will give you more information. And there are other operatives like myself who are uncovering all these deceptions. Question 3, how do several gas suppliers all service the same gas pipe? So you've got British Gas at number 1 and number 7, and you've got Utility Warehouse at number 2 and number 4. How does that work? It's one pipe. There's nothing that we haven't been lied to about. Nothing. It's all deception, hoax, scam, opportunism, relying on us having gone to school long enough to be hoodwinked and gullible and basically stupid. The whole purpose of schooling is to make us stupid. And it's done a very, very, very good job. Number 4, what are the only 3 causes of chronic disease? Chronic disease is caused by only 3 things, and if you've done naturopathy, you'll know that it's caused by toxicity. So you've taken in something that the body doesn't want, it's foreign, something alien to the body. Deficiency, the body wants certain nutrients, it's not getting them, and the food industry has made sure that there's no nutrition in your food. And of course stress. And stress can cover a bit of both, because your body can go into crisis, not just through mental anguish, but through being off balance biochemically. So the only 3 causes of chronic disease: stress, toxins, deficiencies. And we're definitely going to explore this when we come to the health scam. Question 5, who can enter your home without your permission? We'll leave aside the police. We're assuming that we're all good, law-abiding men and women, so this is not a police matter. Who can enter your home without your permission? Well, if your home is your castle, and home doesn't mean something that you own. You can be renting it. It's your home, legitimate home. And the answer, of course, no one. No one can enter your home without your permission. But you wouldn't know that, judging by the behaviour of a lot of people out there. Even people that do my course, who I expect to know this, still don't know that. They just get frantic about potential visits. You just have to develop a thick skin. We are at war, and people who start bleating, oh, they're coming to my door, and so what? I've had police at my door with gas agents. You can see them off once you know what you're doing. I'm not going to explore this in detail at all today, but you can just watch a video. I've got a video for everything now. Agent at the door, and there's a PDF to go with it. You can see all these agents off. You can prevent them coming as well. Just say, unauthorised visits charged at £5,000 a visit. Thank you very much. People laugh. That's the cognitive dissonance that we go into, because we've never heard this before. We should be charging them when they want us to do anything, like fill out a form. We should be saying, is that an order? Well, yeah. Right, well, this is my invoice for complying with the order in commerce. A bit more about that later as well. So we have all kinds of remedy that we've never been told about. And the last place to learn about lawful remedy, guess where? Law school. Or any school. Economists and bankers don't know anything about money, apart from the very, very top echelons. Doctors don't know about health. Teachers don't know about education. It's all deliberately dumbed down. Society has become deliberately dumbed down. We need to celebrate this because we're going to rebuild it. We're going to BBB, aren't we? We're going to build it back better. Oh my God, what have I just said? Right? Well, we are. It's imploding. It has to implode because there's no substance to it. How many democratic schools do you know of? There are 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, as opposed to tens of thousands of non-democratic schools where children don't have a say. How can you have a democracy when you don't have children getting exposed to having a say? So by the time they get to 18, 19, 20, 21, they're used to not having a say. So when you say that you can register to vote, what they don't realise is it's just a continuation of not having a say. Getting a vote doesn't mean you've got a say. It's a vow of silence. That's what having a vote means. From the same word that became the Latin for, votum. Vow of silence. It's like a monastic vow of silence. You're going to let somebody else who's way more worldly and more intelligent than you speak for you because you don't have a voice, you don't have a brain. I won't go into the details of that, but in their system, you don't have a brain because you're dead, and we will look at that, how we become dead in their system later on. You can't build a democracy unless you've got democratic schools. Democracy starts early in life. They have even taken the word propaganda off the curriculum. And I know that for a fact because I did a workshop with some youngsters, teens and preteens. I asked them, have you heard of the word propaganda? So that means that everything that they're getting at school is pure truth. Because there's no such thing as propaganda. If you don't have a word for it, it can't exist. Number 7, if you are legally required to do something, are you obliged to do it? Of course not. And we will look at that in detail. Legal obligation. Of course not. We're all equal under the law. Which means nobody can oblige you to do anything unless you've got an arrangement with them. You consent and you do it, you show your consent by doing it, or you have a contract with them, and it's one of the terms and conditions of the contract. And we'll also unravel the word mandate as well, because that's also another deceptive use of language. Number 8. This is one of my favourite ones, number 8. What's the difference between normal and normalised? Well, here's some examples. Sending children to school is totally dysfunctional and abnormal, but it has been normalised. Now you can see the difference. It's become normal when it never was in the first place, because they are warehouses, like industrial warehousing for boys and girls, and now they are prisons. Going to a doctor with a health issue, not normal. Not in the slightest bit normal, but it's been normalised. It's not normal because doctors are not trained in health. That's why I've been very careful to use the word health issue. They're not trained in health. They haven't got a clue. They'll have to Google it. They're not trained in health. They're just trained in pharmaceutical disease management. Well, that's not health. But it's been normalised. Everyone does it. The 5 billion do it. That's why they've all taken the jab. Paying your bills. Totally insane. But it's been normalised. You're paying the enemy. We're at war. You don't pay the enemy to fight you. They need a grenade. Here's a couple of quid towards a grenade. Just, if you throw it at my house, just make sure I'm out when you throw it, will you? It's insane. We're nuts. We are all certifiable, no exceptions. But we're coming out of that insanity. That's the whole point. And we're getting past our ego that says, I'm not insane. I've led an exemplary life. No, you haven't. You've been every bit as insane as the rest of us by paying our bills. Paying our taxes. It's insane. Taxation is war. It's a war tax. We're at peace. Well, we're maybe not at peace right now, but taxation is voluntary. It's contractual. I don't go into that in any detail at all, but I do on my course. All these things you can extrapolate from what I do teach today, which is that we are only obliged by our signature or by our consent. So if you send off a tax return completed and signed, you're in contract. If you sent it off not completed, or completed it, if you really want to take the mickey, fill it in but don't sign it. Same with those driver thingies, notice to identify driver. Fill it in but don't sign it. It's not usable. Dying at 70 or 80, it's not normal, but it's been normalised. We're supposed to live way beyond that. And we'll look at that a bit later. Doing a job to pay a mortgage. Well, job, from the ancient Hebrew Job, character that was pilloried and scapegoated. Why would you want to go to someone and be scapegoated? That's the meaning of having a job. It's like you're giving up your life and sacrificing it to the beast. That's what a job is. I'm not saying that work is the same. Work is different. You're being persecuted. That's what Job was. Biblical character Job was persecuted. And when you engage in a career, all very nice, isn't it? Your ego's loving having a career, but think about career as a verb. To career means you've lost control, doesn't it? So when you leave school, they tell you it's all right. You may not have great qualifications, but you'll get a job. You may have no skills whatsoever because we spent 10 to 12 years de-skilling you, but you'll get a job and have a career. So in other words, you'll be persecuted for living a life that's not coherent with who you are. That's what having a job and a career actually means, if you know how to interpret language. And then as for the mortgage, the death pledge, mor, death, gage, engagement, pledge. The death pledge. I've never had a mortgage, never interested. I didn't know why I didn't have a mortgage. Well, actually, it was thought I can't afford one was the original reason. Because I didn't have a career. So I didn't have a career, and what little career I had in the law as a solicitor didn't last long because I can't comply with their nonsense. So when my career imploded, it left me with the blessing of joblessness and no mortgage, and so I could start to redefine my life. 40 years on, more or less, here I am. So this is, what's his name, Picard. I'm a member of a species that thinks working 5 days a week for 40 years to pay off a debt created on a bank's computer screen is freedom. More questions. Number 9, how can an injection be guaranteed safe and effective without human trials having been concluded? So 5.5 billion people didn't think about that. They were just told it's safe and effective. If you have to be told that something is safe and effective, how safe and effective can it actually be? The narcissist will say, I'm the best mummy in the world. You've got the best daddy in the world. There's a song that I could almost sing there. They have to tell you that they're the best. Because if they were the best, they wouldn't have to tell you. That's how narcissism works. It promotes itself through repetition until you believe it. Number 10, how can you give fully informed consent to an injection that has blank patient information inserts? Can't do it, can you? But these simple things, you don't need to be a rocket scientist. You don't even need to know what's in the injection. You just use simple, basic, common sense logic. And whatever is in the injection is definitely not suitable for veggies or vegans. And those same people that inspect with a microscope, with a magnifying glass, what's on the packet of something, Well, if you take the syringe out of the packet and inject them, then they're no longer interested in what's on the packet. You can't make this up. What's the first age of maturity, the second age of maturity, and natural life expectancy? Now, we will answer this one. The first age of maturity, believe it or not, is 52. Any lifelong decision or life-changing decision that you make before the age of 52, you're chancing it. You haven't got the maturity to make it. Obviously, this is how it's supposed to be, but the opposite has been normalized, isn't it? You start making life-changing decisions at 20, 22, 25, 28, 30. You haven't got the maturity. The brain only stops developing at 25. You could say the first age of brain maturity is 25, but the age of emotional maturity, first age, 52. The second age of maturity, well, add on the 18 years that it takes to actually become legally mature. That means the second age of maturity is 70. So life really begins at 70. But in their world, it starts to end. And in fact, in the metaverse, they will be telling people that natural life expectancy is down to 40. In America, in the next 2 years, life expectancy, I'm not making this up, so we're not in the metaverse now, we're in this world. Life expectancy is coming down to 53 in the United States within 2 years. And whatever happens in the States happens here. So anyone who gets much past 55 and they've been jabbed, they won't last too long. Natural life expectancy, double what it says in the Bible. It's 140. In the tribes out there in the Andes and Tibetan mountains and forests, native forests, it's routine to live between 120 and 140. But they keep that hidden. So anyone who's, how old was he when he died? 82. He had a good long innings. Did he? Bollocks. My dad's 90 and I swear, he's not looked after himself particularly well, but I swear that he could do five-a-side football. If you just got him a little bit fitter, he could play five-a-side football. What is the most common cause of death in the West? I like this one as well. Common cause of death in the West, death by doctor. I'm not making this up, this is fact. I have an immense amount of grudges against the medical profession, and I wish I weren't making this up, but I'm not. Death by doctor. And I'll explain more in detail how that actually works. Officially, death by doctor is the third most common cause of death. But if you know how to read the statistics, death by doctor is actually virtually now the only cause of death. And death by industrial revolution as well, food processing and alcohol poisoning and all. There's loads of other factors, but the most common form of death is death by mainstream medication. That's the end of part one, a wake-up call. Stay tuned for part two, which is dark word magic.